Hello, buddy, it's Bendominator, and welcome back to another episode of the Bendominator Podcast. Today we're on episode 43 of the podcast, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful Monday today, as always. This is the first episode of the podcast where I am fully back in action. The last week we did 2 streams, I made a video on all the brand new skins in 19.40, and I plan to make even more videos during this next week. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited to be back making content. I'm really excited for Chapter 3, Season 2 to come out here in a few weeks, which is also very exciting. And yeah, I'm just happy to be back here. I'm happy to be making another episode of the podcast, and I hope everyone is doing well. But yeah, like I said before, as we kind of get into the first segment of the podcast, which is the reflection of the past week. Yeah, I think overall it's been a good week. I really did want to get 2 videos out this week. I only ended up getting 1 commentary out because I really just could not think of a good idea for another commentary that I really wanted to do. Of course, there were other news topics to discuss, but nothing that really stood out to me. So I decided to really just focus on doing, I did that 1 stream for the Creative Henchman, which I'm so excited about that device, and overall this whole week, the update that we got was really good for creative mode. Not so much for BR, but, you know, I don't really mind it because we're going to be getting a new season here very soon, in about 2 weeks, which is really exciting, assuming they don't delay it. I'm thinking there's a good chance that they might end up pushing it back a little bit, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then also, I did, of course, a Burma live stream, which normally would be pretty normal, but this week actually, or I didn't end up doing one last week. And I actually do want to do more this week, but we'll see if I end up having time to do so. But yeah, overall, it's been a good week for Fortnite, and it's been a good week for the channel, I think, just getting back into things. And overall, it's been going very, very well. But yeah, I guess, I mean, that kind of wraps it up for the channel reflection. I didn't really have a lot to say because things went very well. Things went pretty much all how I planned and how I wanted it to, so not really much for me to, like, be like, oh, I need to improve on this next week or do this, because, I mean, there's not really anything that stuck out to me that was, like, a negative or something that I think should be different or changed. I think this week just went well. The only thing I would say is I wish I got another commentary out this week. I wish I got more than just 1, but hey, what you gonna do? We'll see if we can change that this week. But yeah, I think we're mainly just gonna move into the news, which I'm not sure. We did have an update, but mostly right now people are kind of theorizing about what Season 2 is gonna be like. And I have so many ideas. Of course, I'm going to be doing the predictions video for Season 2, but I want to wait until we have, like, teasers and stuff to go off of before that happens, so I think these next 2 weeks are going to be really exciting, just releasing some videos in anticipation of Season 2, and then hopefully Season 2 will release as it is scheduled to, and we'll be able to make a bunch of content once that actually releases as well. But I think for now, we're just going to be we're just, as a community, waiting for Season 2 to happen and kind of getting ourselves excited, getting the hype cycle going. Because yeah, it's going to be a very exciting time. But there's one thing I do want to talk about, actually, or one of many news topics that we have to discuss today. But this is the big one. Concept Royale is back. They're doing another Concept Royale, this time for Halloween skins. And if you want to enter Contest Royale, you got to get your submissions in by April 5th. I am kind of tempted to try and do something for this, but I'm not really good at drawing. I don't know anything about 3D modeling, so I don't really know if it's gonna happen. I want to make, like, some kind of Halloween actual concept if I can, but I don't know. We'll see what I can do by April 5th, but I am excited about that. The last Concept Royale was really cool. We got 2 great skins out of it, and I'm excited to see some Halloween concepts, because I just think that's a really cool theme to base skins around, so I'm excited to see what everybody ends up making. And yeah, overall, I'm just excited about it. I'm glad Concept Royale's back. So yeah, that is very, very exciting. Again, April 5th is the deadline for this one. It's kind of soon, but it makes sense because it takes a long time for them to do the whole voting thing and then once they get the skins in, they gotta make them, and it takes a long time to do that. So by the time they get it done, it'll be around Halloween time. So we won't actually see these skins until Halloween, but I think time will probably end up flying by like it did last time. So I'm excited for that. I'm very interested to see what skins we get out of that. And again, I would like to try and do something for it, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. They've also extended the deadline for the combat game submissions. So for Fortnite Creative, there is a featured submission thing where they're asking for combat games without building, and they've actually extended that to March 22nd, which is interesting to me. Again, I'm interested to know if, like, because if the season itself doesn't get extended, we'll be in season 2 by that point. So yeah, I'm interested to see if it's because of the new devices that they've added, or if it's because maybe the season's gonna get extended. We'll see what happens there. But I don't know. Either way, though, very helpful for anybody who is trying to make a map for that. You know, have a bit of extra time, which I think is nice. Always nice to have more time for creative maps. Got more time to, like, even if your map is finished, it's always good to go back, test it, get more time to iron stuff out, all that kind of stuff. Always very, very helpful. So there's also another thing that people have been talking about. Donald Mustard made an Instagram post of him building the Lego AT-AT, and of course people are automatically assuming Star Wars collab stuff, something happening with the AT-AT. With the whole Donald Mustard post thing, like, I feel like it's either hit or miss. Like, sometimes he's actually hinting at something, and sometimes it's just a normal post that he wanted to post because something he wanted to make a post about. But this does seem kind of on the nose, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we got more Star Wars collab stuff. I don't think the next season is going to be a collab season with Star Wars, but I could see us getting like an AT-AT thing related something. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it would be too far-fetched to assume that another Star Wars collab could happen in the near future, because Star Wars and Marvel and DC are all kind of those collabs that they always go to, and every single season we get at least one Marvel skin, maybe a DC skin, and Star Wars is usually third in there. But this season we've gotten a new DC, Star Wars, and Marvel skin all in the same season. Like, those collabs seem to be their main three, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw more Star Wars stuff in the game. But if we saw like actual AT-ATs like walking around, that would be cool. That would be pretty interesting. Alright, sorry about that. So, next up, the sinkholes. There's another sinkhole that has popped up. And I gotta say, I don't know if I talked about the sinkholes last week, but in terms of map changes, I don't really love them that much. I mean, they definitely have a lot of loot, but I much prefer the buildings that were there before the sinkholes happened. It is definitely a cool thing to kind of hint at the next season, but I feel like it's kind of too soon to be destroying stuff like this. But I do think that maybe they'll replace these sinkholes with other landmarks in the future. Maybe even POIs will be at these areas, but I do hope that these do get replaced next season with something a bit more interesting, because I already kind of missed those little buildings that were in these areas before. I kind of like them a bit better than these sinkholes that we have. I mean, they're cool. It's an interesting thing with the earthquakes and stuff, and there's definitely still a lot of really good landmarks to go to, but destroying little houses and stuff like this, I mean, it's not a huge deal. It's just, I don't know. I think I'm not often a huge fan of map changes like this that just get rid of stuff or make craters in the ground. I've never really been a huge fan of that kind of stuff, unless it leads to something way more interesting in the long run, which could happen here. We'll just have to wait and see when the next season launches. I do hope that these sinkholes have a good payoff. I hope that there's a good payoff for the earthquake thing, and I hope maybe these areas get cool, and hopefully they have some new interesting things in these spots for the next season. Or maybe these spots end up having to do with the next season in a way that's really good. We'll just have to wait and see. I just hope they have a good payoff, because if they don't, it just feels like they're getting rid of these buildings for no reason, and I hope that's not the case. But from seasons like Chapter 2, Season 7, I don't know. I don't have high hopes, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Chapter 3 has definitely been a lot better about map changes in general, in my opinion, so I hope that this is a place where they'll continue to impress me. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see. I want to see where these sinkholes go. As for now, I'm not super ecstatic about them, but it's not really a big deal. It's just something I wanted to talk about because I haven't really seen a lot of people discussing these. I feel like, obviously they're not really a huge thing right now, but I mean, it's cool. It's something that Epic is definitely doing to hype things up, and it's something that you wouldn't really see from them in Chapter 2 very often, making these kind of map changes. I just hope it leads somewhere. And then we've got a lot of news for Season 2. So many things have been leaked during the season and previous seasons. There's lots of stuff, like, there's that one desert POI that we could see that's like a 7 desert POI. Not sure if that was scrapped or if that's still in the works, but something like that would be interesting. Rumors are that the next season's going to be about the 7 and the IO specifically, so maybe we'll see another 7 POI in the desert and another IO POI somewhere else on the map. But the idea is that maybe we'll see another 7 POI in the desert. I do really hope that the Sanctuary changes. That's like the main POI that I kind of want to change. Also the Jonesies. I feel like the Jonesies is like the most forgotten POI on this map right now. And all the other ones I feel like I land at pretty regularly. Like even the Sanctuary, which I don't like that much, I still land there pretty regularly. But the Jonesies, like, I kind of forget it exists, so I hope they kind of replace that POI with something. In terms of other map changes, I don't know. I really love the area that the Sanctuary is in, but I'm not a huge fan of it, and I know it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to get rid of the Sanctuary during the 7 versus IO season, but I hope sometime, maybe at least in, like, Season 3 or something, we get to see that place change, especially if a lot of the next season will be taking place maybe a little bit during the summer. Maybe Season 3 will end up being the summer season, but if we see the season released next week, like on the 19th, I think is when it's meant to release, it'll probably go through up until May or June. So I guess, yeah, Season 3 would probably be the summer season. So that's interesting, actually. Yeah, Season 3 will probably be the summer season. So I hope for Season 3, we get like a really cool beach town POI where the Sanctuary is, because I love that area, and I hope they do something really cool for the summer, because it already has like some cool beach houses out on the coast and stuff, or out like in the shore. So I don't know. I just really love that area of the map. I'm not a huge fan of the Sanctuary. I don't know if I'm like one of the only people who feels that way, but the Sanctuary is definitely not really a favorite of mine on this new map. And it's kind of one of those POIs that has so much potential because of that terrain and all that area around it. But the POI itself, I feel like, could be better. And I just rather it be something a bit different, because I'm just not a huge fan of the whole... I don't know. I feel like I just don't really care for the aesthetic of the IO or the 7. Like, I don't really care for them. I love Covert Cavern. I just don't like the aesthetic of it. I don't think it's really interesting. I think the Grotto definitely had a bit better of aesthetic. I like the spy stuff a bit better. Overall, I think Covert's a way better POI than the Grotto was, but in terms of aesthetics, I preferred the spy stuff. But even then, I feel like it was kind of a bit bland. Like, I don't know, but it's fitting for that kind of location. But with the Sanctuary, it's just like, I don't know, especially like in a beach area with like beach vibes. You have like this weird like Star Wars-esque thing. It kind of looks like it might be better suited for like a desert. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not like a huge fan of the aesthetic of it. At least not the way it's being used. I don't know. Something about the Sanctuary. I think it's mostly the looks of it. I think if it was in a different spot, maybe it would be better. Again, I'm very biased towards like the whole beach vibe stuff. So I just think it would be fun to see something a bit more summer themed in that area. But of course that wouldn't make much sense now. That's why I'm saying Season 3 maybe, since that will be during the summer. Could we see something change there? I hope so, but we'll just have to wait and see. But other than that, I love the map. Like, I couldn't even think of any other POIs other than the Jonesies and the Sanctuary. Like, I couldn't think of any other POIs that I want to be replaced at this moment in time. The Jonesies and Sanctuary are like the only 2 POIs that I'd actually want to see replaced with something else. I don't really know where else they would add POIs. Again, there's that one place in the desert that's kind of in the bottom left. I need to actually look at the Chapter 3 map. But it's like kind of near the Butter Barn, but it's like below Greasy Grove and to the left of Chonkers Speedway. There's like this little oasis area kind of near the Butter Barn. I feel like that would be a good spot for another desert POI, so you could get 4 different POIs in the desert. That could be the 7 or the yeah, the 7 themed POI there. And then other than that, I don't know. I feel like the top of the map kind of has a lot of POIs. Maybe more to like the right. Maybe like to the right of Daily Bugle. Well, Daily Bugle will most likely get replaced since it's a collab POI. So we'll just, I don't really know what they'll replace there, but I'd be interested to know because over there you kind of got the Daily Bugle, then you got like the Sunny Steps area. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do there. Because yeah, Daily Bugle I don't think is staying. And it's weird because they set it up where there's like a volcano there. So will that turn into a full volcano next season? I could see it happening. Maybe IO takes over that spot, makes a volcano base or something. That would be pretty cool. I just hope they do something to mix up the aesthetics of it. I think kind of like a volcano-themed IO base would be a good way to mix up the IO aesthetic to make it a bit more interesting. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, I forgot about the Daily Bugle. That'll definitely be a POI that will probably be leaving us next season. So I'm definitely interested to see what they do there. I could see the Jonesies maybe leaving just because it's not very popular, but maybe it'll stay for that reason as well. Sometimes they kind of keep in POIs that aren't really touched because, you know, if they don't have a good idea to change it with, they're not going to. I just hope they don't get rid of, like, I really hope they don't get rid of Sleepy. They should keep Sleepy. They should keep Coney. They better keep Tilted. Definitely keep Greasy. Definitely keep Logjam. You know, keep Covert. Keep Rocky. Keep Chunkers. Keep Condo. I wouldn't really mind if they got rid of Camp Cuddle, but I would hope they would keep it just because I think it's good. I think it should definitely stay. I think it's fitting. But yeah, definitely, it's just all those POIs on the right side of the map, like Daily Bugle, Sanctuary, and the Jonesies. Like all those POIs, I wouldn't mind if they got replaced. In fact, I hope they all get replaced by something. I doubt they're all going to get replaced in one season, but we'll see. Sanctuary is definitely one that I don't expect to stay the entire chapter. Jonesies, maybe it could stay the entire chapter just because, you know, they might not have any ideas to put anything else over there. I doubt Tilted is staying the entire chapter, but I hope it stays most of it. I doubt it's leaving anytime soon, but I don't think Tilted's surviving the entire chapter. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit scared about that. Covert Cavern, it's storyline based with IO, so I'm afraid that might be leaving us too before the chapter ends. Definitely not next season, but we'll see. I think Shifty will probably stay the entire chapter. Sleepy will stay the entire chapter, I bet. Again, these are all just predictions. Logjam Lumberyard, I hope stays, but I could see that changing. I could see Camp Cuddle changing. I could see Greasy Grove. I think Greasy Grove will probably stay the whole time. I could see Condo Canyon changing, maybe Rocky. It's going to be very interesting. Like, Season 2 is a big deal because it's the first time we're going to see how Epic handle seasons starting this chapter. Because, yes, the first season has been great, but will they be able to keep up this momentum? What can we expect from a season launch on this map now that it's already been established to us? That's what I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about, like, I'm excited to see which POIs stay the same, which POIs change. And yeah, that's going to be a big deal when it comes to predictions. Like, once I get to my prediction video, again, I'm excited to see teasers so we can kind of get a better idea of what the season's going to be like. Sorry, I just bumped my mic. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. But yeah, again, I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what they do with these POIs, and I'm interested to see which ones they decide to get rid of or keep or change or whatever. Because there's definitely a big deal when it comes to, like, changing POIs as well, because just because you change it doesn't mean it's gonna be, like, completely different. They could add a few buildings at Camp Cuddle, for instance. They could change Tilted Towers, but still keep it as Tilted, just maybe make some map changes there. Add a building, remove a few buildings, change a building. You know, they could do stuff like that. It's something they didn't really do in Chapter 2, but they did a lot in Chapter 1, is, you know, changing certain parts of a POI to keep it fresh, but not completely getting rid of it, you know? Or remixing a POI in a new way to fit a new theme. They did that sometimes in Chapter 2, like with Bony Burbs. That was a remixed version of Salty Towers. So it wasn't completely new. The layout was pretty similar, but it was a different POI. They do stuff like that as well. So again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the map. I'm definitely very excited to see what happens with the map itself. See what happens with the different POIs in Season 2. Because this map has so much potential, and But with only being season 2, it's like I don't want them to change too much already because I'm really comfortable with the map right now. I really enjoy how it is right now. They did a great job during this season, specifically adding 2 new POIs in really good spots. So yeah, I think mostly the right side of the map is what I'd say needs the most improvement, in my opinion at least. The right side of the map is like my least favorite area. Like the whole jungle. I love the terrain and I love the vibe of it. It's just the POIs in it. Don't really care for any of them. But yeah. I talked about that earlier, so no need to go into detail with that again. We also got the Mary Jane skin leaked, which a lot of people have been kind of disappointed with. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I mean, it's cool. I don't know when it's actually going to come to the item shop because they brought back the Spider-Man stuff. They didn't bring anything new with the Spider-Man stuff. We're still due for like a new Spider-Man skin or something, or like another villain, but who knows? We might not end up getting that this season, so Mary Jane exists. I hope that means that there is another Spider-Man skin in the files that's probably encrypted that we can't see yet. But whenever that comes out, I think Mary Jane will probably release alongside another skin. I think Mary Jane will definitely release alongside another skin. Whether that's Spider-Man or another villain, we'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, what else? We have FNCS has been going on like crazy. We got the brand new skin for it. Lots of mixed opinions on how FNCS has been handled this year. But yeah, it's definitely it's been a wild one. It's interesting. Also, I say this year. I meant to say this season, by the way, not this year. But yeah, it's been interesting to see what's been happening with that. I'm not huge into the competitive scene, so I don't really know a lot. I just know that, you know, it's a lot of people find this. I'll say this. The meta this season is very unpopular. A lot of people don't like the SMG meta. Shotguns are still kind of whack. You know, there's a lot of problems with it. I personally don't really mind it too much. The only thing I've actually really been like, I haven't heard many people complain about this, but the ARs, like right now, I just don't like the MK or the range, like the Ranger AR. I don't like either of them right now. The MK was really fun at the start of the season, but they like nerfed it or something. It does like 21 damage per shot, per body shot. Like, I don't know. I feel like it just doesn't do enough anymore. I was fine with the structure damage nerf, but like to players, it seems, I don't know if it's different or if it's the same or what happened, or if I'm just like, if I'm just tired of the gun at this point, but I don't know. I don't like the MK7 really much anymore, so I'm not really a fan of the ARs at all. I hope we get the standard AR back, because I think the standard AR is important. I understand they wanted to change things up this season, but I think next season we need some standard guns back, like the standard AR, maybe the tac shotgun. They could probably leave the pump out. I don't mind. They could bring it back. I don't really care. The pump is one of those guns where it's like, bring it back? Okay, sure. I'm fine with this. I'll have a fun time with it. Don't bring it back? Well, I don't mind, as long as the other shotguns in its place are actually fun. Depends on the season for me. But, I mean, if they decide to bring the pump back, that's great. But the standard AR, I think we really need that back. I think that's like, it's just such a, not even that it's like an iconic gun, it's just something you need. It's a standard, simple AR that does what you expect it to do, and it does it really well. And I just like it. And it definitely kind of eliminates a bit of that choice, because it's like, why wouldn't I pick up the standard AR over pretty much most other ARs in the game? Because I just think it's the most comfortable. I think the standard AR is like the best AR, like not in terms of like actual stats or anything, but just in terms of my enjoyment of it. But I don't know. I think the standard AR would be fun, or just like buff the MK like player damage a bit. Again, the structure damage is fine. They don't need to buff that back again, because that was kind of busted. But I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with the MK7 in terms of the DPS to players, but I don't know. I don't even remember what it was before, or even if they changed it, so I'm not sure. I just know lately that I haven't really been enjoying it that much. I haven't really been enjoying the ARs, but I don't really have a problem with the SMGs. I don't have a huge issue with the shotguns. I do still wish the auto was a bit better. I still wish like the pump was a tiny bit better. Like, compared to the SMGs, it's like they're still kind of outclassed by the SMGs. But, I mean, I don't hate it. Like, I think it's fine. Again, like, improvements can be made, but it's still solid in my opinion. I think the meta is pretty solid this season. Again, my biggest complaint, which I haven't really heard anybody talk about, is the ARs. I really just don't. I don't find either of the ARs very fun to use. It's gotten to the point where I actually just carry a grenade launcher instead of an AR. Just because, you know, I like to have 2 heals or an item and a heal. AR, SMG, shotgun. If I pick up a grenade launcher, I'll just get rid of my AR. I'd rather get rid of my AR than heals at that point because, you know, I really, really like the grenade launcher. They're definitely going to nerf that soon because it's broken. But I don't see that many people use it. And whenever I see it, like, I take full advantage of that thing. I don't see a lot of people actually taking advantage of it, but, like, if you don't use the grenade launcher that often, or if you have it, but you just don't, like, take advantage of it, use it. It is insane. It's crazy. I love the grenade launcher. It's a lot of fun. Definitely how I've gotten probably the majority of maybe not the most of the kills this season, because I don't often end up getting it, like, all the time. But, yeah. Definitely a really, really good skin. We're also getting pretty darn close to the melees releasing in creative because they finally, like, they come back into creative. People have been able to use them a bit before they got taken away shortly after, but I think we're getting pretty close. I think we could see it next update, especially because we got henchmen in the game now. That's something we had been waiting for a while, and now that the henchmen are out, melees, I think, is the next big thing to come out. And they're looking great. Like, a lot of the gameplay that I've seen of these look amazing. They look a lot of fun. And the amount of work they've probably been putting into these, like, these aren't just simple save the world melees being added into the game. These are, like, brand new animations being created for some of these. It's crazy. I'm insanely excited to see these in the game. Like, it's going to bring out so many new possibilities for combat maps. So, yeah, I'm really excited for it. There's so many different types of them, too. Like, seeing this footage makes me realize how, like, much work they're actually putting into these things, because, like, it's been months since we've known about them, and they've probably been working on them for even longer than we've known about them, so it really, it does make a lot of sense, especially with something like creative. Creative is so prone to being, like, really buggy, and it's really easy to mess stuff like this up, so I'm sure they're trying to make it the best they can. They don't want it to be buggy on release. So I have confidence that it actually won't be buggy on release. The henchmen have been working really well. The main issues with them has, of course, been them on terrain, but that's an issue with not their AI. That's an issue with how terrain is handled in creative entirely. That's a whole other issue. Because all the other, like, AI-based devices also struggle with terrain, and it's just the way that terrain is. Terrain counts as a prop, all that kind of stuff. It leads to a lot of issues. I really hope they do fix up terrain or kind of readjust how terrain works, because the fact that terrain counts as a prop has caused a lot of problems. Even recently, items like the pizza and the shield keg don't work on it because it counts as a prop, even though items like the proximity mines worked on it before. Well, not anymore because they bounce off props. So it's strange. I don't really understand it, but, you know, hopefully they end up changing that soon, because, yeah, it is kind of frustrating to have really cool things like the henchmen just not work on terrain. Cool items like the pizza, you can't place it on terrain, custom-built terrain. It's kind of weird. But hopefully they end up changing that soon, because there are so many devices now that are starting to, like so many items and devices aren't working on custom-built terrain now. Luckily, the supply drops work on custom-built terrain. I was surprised to figure that out, but lots of other things just don't, like henchmen, animals, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the time, they're just not going to work, so hopefully Epic realizes this. Hopefully that's something that they're going to try and fix, because that is kind of one of the biggest, like, pains in creative right now, is custom terrain. It's just, like, it's just so, like, it's a big reason a lot of people want a device for it, is because of the way terraining works right now. It's not very intuitive. You can definitely work with it. You can make really great things with it, but a lot of the time it comes to the expense of mechanics, so sometimes just not working out the way you'd expect. And there's definitely some ways to work around it. I don't know how you would do that with the henchmen and stuff. Definitely a lot about creative that I've yet to learn when it comes to certain aspects, but I do think that the terrain could be reworked, I think, for creative mode, custom terrain, even like without a device for it, just the way the building pieces work for it, I think they could be reworked to better suit certain things like the henchman device and like the wildlife device, and items like the shield keg pizza, proximity grenades, shield bubbles, all that kind of stuff. Because this is definitely kind of annoying to have to deal with it sometimes. But yeah, other than that though, I mean, creative's been great recently. They fixed a lot of bugs in the last update. Always glad to see that. Lots of exciting things coming. Again, melee device. Super exciting. We should be getting Bony Burp stuff finally. Oh my goodness, I've been waiting for the Bony Burp stuff for so long. I don't even know why I'm so excited about the Bony Burps like stuff, like the prefabs and everything, but I just want it for some reason. I just really do. So I'm excited for that. I don't know what I would actually use it for, but I really want it. Just because I think they're cool. I like it. I like all the primal theme stuff in the game. I think that was a lot of fun. And I am excited. I'm really surprised again. I'm still surprised that we got all these things so fast in creative mode, especially like all the different resource types, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, hey, now we just got a few more of those pieces left for building, and then we got all the Season 6 stuff finally. And hopefully they'll move on to like Season 7. Though we got most of that stuff already in the game, so yeah, we got pretty much most of the Chapter 2 seasons covered in terms of stuff. It's just Season 6, a little bit of those prefabs coming back. And yeah, that's pretty much most of it. I don't know why it's taking them so long to do the Season 6 stuff specifically. But hey, I guess Season 6 did have a lot of new pieces. I had a lot of new buildings. So it's probably the hardest to port when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'm not really fully sure how that works. But anyway, that's pretty much all the news I wanted to talk about for this week's podcast episode. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the viewer questions segment of the podcast. Again, thank you guys to everybody who sends me questions. I always put the community post out if you want to send me questions. But yeah, Sweatboy asks, what's your opinion on the use of multiverse and mini-BRs? I think it's cool. It's personally something that I don't really ever want to introduce with Brim, just because we're so, like, we really like keeping Burma in its own contained story. We never, like, want to really cross over with other mini-BRs and stuff, just because we want our universe and our rules to stay consistent within our universe. And yeah, so that's kind of why we don't do it with Brim, because, we want to keep everything consistent with the lore and all that kind of stuff, all the story stuff. But I do think it is cool when it's done well. I think it's definitely done well a lot, and even just outside of collab stuff, I think it can be done really well. I'm guessing when you say multiverse, you mean mostly like collab, like multiverse between different mini BRs, or even just not even mini BRs, but just maps in general, like a mini BR collabing with a different map or stuff like that. But also just the fact of a storytelling thing. Because Brim, I guess, kind of has a bit of like it has other realities and stuff. But again, we'd never really collab with other mini BRs because, or even just any other creative maps, just because we like to keep our story in our own universe, our own lore, our own canon. But I'm definitely, like, I'm not like opposed to it as a concept. It's just something we're probably never going to do for Brim, but I definitely think it is interesting, and it's cool when, you see people collabing and stuff. Who are the OGs of Brim that still play today and when they start? There's a lot. There's definitely a lot of people who have been playing since the start. It's hard to, like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, name them all and stuff, and I don't remember specifically when everybody started, but, there's definitely a lot of people who started in Chapter 1. Most of the people on my Discord server definitely started in Chapter 1. We did a poll saying who started when, but there's been a lot of people who started in Chapter 2 as well. And honestly, at this point, it's like, if you started at the beginning of Chapter 2, that's like a long time still. But it's crazy to think that Brim's been around for over a year. Like, Brim's been around for over a year. So it's crazy to me that there's been people that have like stuck around that whole time. But we're coming up on a year of like chapter 2 at this point. Like by the time we get to like, I think chapter 2 came out in either May or April. So that's almost been a year. And I consider that, like, if you've been playing Brim for like a year, then I'd say you're pretty OG at that point, because a lot's changed, even just in chapter 2. But yeah, I can't, like, if I see someone like in stream chat or my Discord, I'll know, oh yeah, that's someone who's probably been playing Brim for a while, or I'll recognize their name. As long as they haven't like changed or anything, I'll recognize their name. But I can't possibly list off like every single OG Brim member, or OG player, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot. And even like, as to what I consider OG at this point, like chapter 2, early chapter 2 at this point, I consider that kind of OG just because it's been almost a year. And it's kind of crazy to think about that. Eco Samurai says, do you like how much Burma has evolved over the years? Ever becoming updating separate game modes, Super Brim Bros, and what are some of the plans, if you could talk about for the future? Well, I'm definitely extremely happy and extremely proud of how far Brim has come over, like, just ever since it started. Like, it's just crazy, especially going back and playing chapter 1 with like season 6 and everything. It's just like going from chapter 1 season 6 to chapter 2 season 6, I feel like it's just a night and day. I know a lot of people really enjoy chapter 1 season 6, and I'm glad people have been enjoying that. I think it's been a lot of fun. But it's just like playing that map just shows how far we've come, I feel like, and I just can't wait for the future. I think things are gonna get even crazier. And yeah, like with Brim Bros, like you mentioned, it's exciting to start like branching out to other things, and I'm so excited to reveal more about Brim Bros to you guys. We've been working on stuff for it, and I'm just really excited to continue revealing stuff about that, because that's gonna be a big deal, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, again, I can't really say much about the future, but Brim Bros is definitely gonna be a big part of it. I'm really excited about that map. I'm really excited to share more with you guys, and I've been working hard on stuff for that map specifically recently. But it's definitely difficult to balance between that and Brim, and now we have 2 Brim maps, and it's kind of crazy. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been great, and I'm excited about that. And I've even seen other creators recently have been branching out like more too, like many BR creators. Directing Pete, for instance, just released a brand new fashion show. Starwise has always been really great about making a ton of different maps, with like Mobius Mayhem and everything being a really good one, Gold Rush and all that kind of stuff. And seeing that kind of stuff has also kind of inspired me to be like, yeah, like mini BRs are great, but we got to branch out more. So Brim Bros was kind of a big thing like that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, shake things up a little bit, because when you're just making mini BRs all the time, you know, sometimes you got to branch out, you got to make something new. Even if that project that you're starting to make doesn't get finished, well, you still tried it, you still tried something new, and, you know, maybe you learned something from that. And there's definitely a lot of maps that I've started that I haven't finished, but just because I didn't finish a map doesn't mean it was a failure. It means, well, I mean, maybe I realized at the end that that wasn't something that I was super interested in making or super interested in completing, but definitely learned something from it, and I gained something of value from that. So it just, anything you work on, no matter what it is, no matter you finish it or whatever, even if it's just like a project for like an art piece or something, even if it's gameplay related, maybe it's just a map that purely focuses on devices, there's value in doing whatever you do, because no matter what you make, you're going to be able to use those skills and apply them to your next project. And that's why I just sometimes I open up creative and I'm like, you know what, I have an idea, I'm going to do it. And sometimes I don't finish that map. And if you guys have watched my creative live streams, you know a lot of maps that I haven't finished. But, you know, I gain something from that. I learn something every time I go into creative mode and start something new, or just work on something. Because, you know, any experience is experience. And there's so much to creative mode. There's so much you can do. And I think it's important to kind of branch out and do stuff like that. So that is something I'm definitely excited about for Brim. Using kind of the idea of Brim, keeping like it to the lore and stuff, not really actually, because it's Brim Bros isn't like canon to the story, which I already mentioned in the post for it, but like keeping the ideas of Brim and stuff, because I just love the universe that we've created with that map. I love kind of like the community that we've kind of created around that map, and yeah, just kind of expanding upon that, I think is really cool. So yeah, very good question, Eco Samurai. I appreciate that a lot. And then Sweatboy again says, what are your hopes for Season 2? What weapons, POIs, or features, mechanics would you like to see added? To me, again, I kind of talked about the map a lot already, but in terms of features, there's rumors that we might get like a what would you call it? Kind of like a parkour feature, where you're able to like more seamlessly run through the environment. I think that would be really cool. I don't know how that would work with build fights, but it's another one of those things like sliding I was kind of weird about at the start, but you know, I actually grew to really enjoy sliding. In terms of other things like weapons, again, I said I want the normal AR back. In terms of new weapons, I hope we get some really new, interesting like shotguns and SMGs and ARs. ARs is the big one, but you know, there's chance for a lot of other things. I hope we get some new like explosive weapons. I hope we see a bit more fun items in the game. We have some really good ones in the loot pool right now, but a lot of them are heals. I do hope we see some other more like interesting items. Because I feel like right now we're kind of lacking a bit of that stuff. Of course, you have Spider-Man's web slingers, which is a big one, but those are probably going to be leaving soon, unfortunately. And those are probably going to like leave next season. So I think a really good fun mobility item and just some other good tactical items, some new type of like throwable explosive weapons. Stuff like the shield bubble is really fun. I wouldn't even mind seeing stuff like that return, but things like the shield bubble and the storm flip, I want to see new items like those that are just really creative and really fun. Maybe some new traps or something. I actually kind of want to see the fire trap return. I think that was a really forgotten thing that we got in Season 4 of Chapter 2. I think it would be fun to see something like that come to the game. New items, just keep the loot pool a bit more zany, because right now it's kind of, you know, there's some good things in there, but it's kind of playing a bit safe still, so I'd like to see some new zany items. And yeah, that's kind of what I want from the loot pool. Kind of talked about the map earlier in the podcast, so I'm not going to go over that too much, but yeah. So we've been recording this podcast for about 42 minutes, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here, but thank you to everyone who gave me questions here at the end. I really appreciate it. I recognize that I, again, kind of sent out the thing a bit late. I only sent it out like a few minutes, like 30 minutes before I started this. So I apologize if I didn't get to your question. I know on the last one, a lot of people sent questions like after the fact, so I feel bad about that, but hopefully you guys can get your questions the next time, and hopefully I'll actually be able to get the thing out a lot sooner. But thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, because I make podcasts every single Monday. You can also use my supporter creator code Bendominator in the Fortnite item shop. #ad. Only if you want to support me. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.